All right, welcome to The Explainer. You know, for decades, buying a car was a pretty straightforward choice. But today, we're all standing at a huge fork in the road. On one side, you've got the classic gas-powered car we all know, and on the other, the all-electric vehicle. It's a decision that really changes everything: your wallet, your daily drive, even your impact on the world. So let's dive right in.
So that brings us to the big question, right? When you strip everything away and look at the real cost, the performance, the environmental side of things, which car is genuinely the smarter choice for your future? That's what we're going to break down, piece by piece.
First things first, we've got to start with the basics. Before we can even talk about money or speed, we need to get our heads around the fundamental difference in how these cars actually, well, go. It really all comes down to what's under the hood.
And honestly, it boils down to this. On one side, you have the electric vehicle, the EV. It runs on a massive, rechargeable lithium-ion battery pack. Just think of your smartphone's battery, but scaled up a lot. And because there's no exhaust pipe, there are zero emissions coming directly from the car. On the other side is the car that's powered us for over a century, the internal combustion engine, or ICE, which works by creating tiny controlled explosions, burning gasoline to get you down the road.
Now, you might be thinking this is still some niche debate, but check this out. By 2022, more than 10 million electric cars were sold and driving on roads around the world. So this shift, it's not some far-off future thing, it's happening right now, which makes this conversation more important than ever. Okay, let's get to the part I know you're waiting for: the money, the bottom line. How do these two completely different paths end up affecting your wallet? And not just on the day you buy it, but for every single mile you drive.
And let's be real, there's no getting around this first hurdle. When you walk into the dealership, you're almost certainly going to see a higher sticker price on an electric car. That advanced battery technology is just plain expensive to produce, so that initial investment is usually going to be bigger than it would be for a comparable gas car.
But, and this is a huge but, the story completely flips once you drive off the lot. Take a look at this. It's the average cost to fuel up for a year, driving about 15,000 miles. For an EV, you're looking at maybe $600 in electricity. For the gas car, over $2,000. That is a massive, massive difference that adds up year after year. So what about that higher upfront cost we just talked about? Well, governments are trying to help with that. In the US, for instance, there are potential tax credits worth up to $7,500 that can seriously knock down the initial price of an EV. That can make it a much more competitive choice right from day one.
Okay, so the long-term running costs are looking pretty sweet for EVs. But what about the rest of the experience? What's life actually like with these cars, both on the road and in the garage? Now, here is a number that just might blow your mind: $4,600. According to a big study from Consumer Reports, that's roughly how much an EV owner could save on maintenance over the entire life of their car. Why? Well, with way fewer moving parts, there's just less stuff to break.
So, where do those incredible savings come from? Well, this chart spells it out. For an EV, no oil changes, ever. No spark plugs, barely any filter changes. A gas car, on the other hand, needs all that stuff done regularly. Now, there is one elephant in the room: that last row. While it's not super common, an out-of-warranty battery repair on an EV can be incredibly expensive. It's a risk you've got to be aware of.
And it's not just about maintenance. The actual feeling behind the wheel is like night and day. An EV gives you all of its power instantly. The second you touch the pedal, you get this smooth, silent, and frankly thrilling acceleration. A gas car is more traditional, right? You get that familiar engine roar, that gradual mechanical feeling of power building. Some people absolutely love that, while others can't get enough of the quiet, quick ride of an EV.
All right, let's zoom out for a second. Let's move beyond our own wallets and our own garages and look at the bigger picture. What's the real environmental cost of these two different technologies?
This number, 73%, is really at the core of the whole environmental debate. When you factor in everything, from manufacturing the car to driving it for years, a typical EV can slash its lifetime carbon emissions by up to 73% compared to a similar gas car. That is just a staggering reduction.
But, as always, it's not quite that simple. We need to add some context here. Yes, it's true, EVs have zero tailpipe emissions, which is a massive win for air quality in our cities. But, and this is a big but, their total impact really depends on where their electricity comes from. The cleaner the power grid, the cleaner the EV. We also can't ignore that building those big batteries has its own environmental footprint. Still, it's pretty hard to argue with this last number. A gas car pumps out almost 9,000 grams of CO2 for every single gallon of fuel it burns. You know, we can stare at data and charts all day, but what does this all mean in the real world for actual car owners? Let's switch gears and hear a few perspectives from drivers around the globe. So here we have Sarah in the US. She's loving the $1,500 a year she's saving on fuel. Who wouldn't? But she also points to one of the biggest anxieties for EV owners. Finding a charger on a long road trip can still be a pain. It's that classic range anxiety we hear so much about.
But then you hop over to a place like Norway, and you get a completely different story. For Lars, with strong government support and chargers everywhere, going electric was, as he says, a no-brainer. It just goes to show you how much local policy and infrastructure can totally change the game.
And then there's Ahmed's view from Saudi Arabia. In a place where gas is cheap and stations are on every corner, the argument for switching to an EV just isn't as strong. It's a powerful reminder that the smarter choice really depends on where in the world you live.
And finally, let's not forget the middle ground. Miko from Japan brings up the hybrid. And for a lot of people, this really is the perfect solution. You get way better fuel economy than a standard gas car, but you have zero of that range anxiety that can come with going fully electric.
So we've looked at the tech, the money, the performance, the environmental impact, and the real-world experiences. Whew, let's bring it all home. How on earth do you decide which of these paths is the right one for you?
Well, it really comes down to asking yourself 4 key questions. First, what's your budget? Are you okay with a higher upfront cost to get those long-term savings? Second, what does your daily driving look like? Are you mostly doing short commutes, or are you a road trip warrior? Third, you have to do your homework. What does the charging situation look like where you live and work? And finally, you have to ask yourself, how important are the environmental benefits to you? The answer is going to be different for everyone.
So, what's the big takeaway here? Choosing between electric and gas isn't just about horsepower or miles per gallon anymore. It's a decision about technology, about your own personal finances, and really about your vision for the future. Your next car isn't just a purchase, it's a statement. So the question is, what will yours say?